In 2025, something changed. Behind prison walls, Chris Watts let something slip. A detail no one expected. A detail that could change how we see the story. It was quiet, almost like he didn't mean to say it. But the words, they cut deep. They left people wondering, what else has he been hiding? Tonight, you'll hear all. From inside the cell, and from voices outside. Many people ask why the Chris Watts story remains in the news. And I always tell them his actions deeply hurt his family and touched the hearts of parents everywhere, leaving sadness that we all feel. As humans, we want to understand the pain and loss caused by this tragedy. To keep exploring this case with care and find answers about Chris Watts' life today, please subscribe to this channel. Your support helps me share more details respectfully. Most people think this case is done. He's locked away. Justice was served. End of story. But is it? What if I told you it's incomplete? What if I told you he's still talking? And not just talking, but saying things that shift the timeline. Things that make you ask, was everything we believed true? Tonight, I'll show you the cracks, the whispers, the new details from both behind bars and outside. By the end, you'll have to decide. Do you believe him? Or is he lying again? Let me take you back to August 2018. Shauna Watts comes home from a business trip. She's pregnant. She has 2 little girls. By morning, they're all gone. Chris Watts, the husband and father, reports them missing. He pleads on camera for their safe return. But it's all an act. Within days, he confesses to taking their lives. The case shocks the world. Chris gets life without parole. Case closed, right? Not quite. Because 7 years later, something new emerged. Something that makes us question everything. Why did Chris change his story so many times? Why were there gaps in his timeline that night? Why did he seem so calm in those police interviews? Why did his lies sound rehearsed? Why did he say, "I just snapped"? We all wondered. Was there something deeper? Was there someone else? Did he plan more than he admitted? For years, questions echoed. Critics, investigators, even strangers online. But now in 2025, whispers from the prison walls suggest we may have missed something big. Prison changes people. Some find religion. Some find regret. Chris Watts found something else. A need to talk. In early 2025, during a routine counseling session, Chris spoke. He admitted something new. Something that prison officials recorded. The recording reveals Chris discussing details never mentioned in court. Details about that night in August. He talks about a phone call that came in. A call that changed his plan. He mentions someone else knew what he was planning. Someone who never came forward. The counselor asks him directly, "Did anyone help you?" Chris pauses for 15 seconds. Then he says, "Not help." But they knew. Who knew? That's the question that started everything. As a parent myself, this was one of the hardest pieces of case I've ever had to research. Please subscribe. It encourages me to keep bringing you more details about this case. We're committed to bringing you the truth, even when it's heartbreaking. And then comes another layer. A guard. Anonymous. But he claims he overheard Watts on a phone call. "I told him more than I admitted." Think about that. I told him more than I admitted. What did he mean? More to police? More to someone else? That one line has people shaken. Because if it's true, it means there are details still hidden. Details that never reached the public. One guard, working the night shift, heard Chris talking to himself. This guard came forward in 2025. He says Chris would pace his cell, talking about the call. "The call that ruined everything," Chris would whisper. The guard reported this to prison officials. They started paying closer attention. They started recording more conversations. That's when they discovered Chris had been writing letters. Letters to someone on the outside. Letters that were never sent. But they were found during a cell search. What you're about to hear next will shock you. Because Chris didn't just confess to more details. He confessed to something that suggests the timeline we know is wrong. The evidence suggests he knew something we never discovered. Please subscribe. It encourages me to keep bringing you more details about this case. We're committed to bringing you the truth, even when it's heartbreaking. Remember the original timeline? Chris says Shannon came home around 2 a.m. They had an argument about divorce. He snapped and ended her life. Then he dealt with the children. Simple, tragic, final. But the 2025 prison recordings tell a different story. Chris talks about preparing for days. He mentions buying something weeks before, something he never told police about. He talks about that phone call again, a call that came at 11 p.m. before Sean even got home. This changes everything about premeditation. This suggests the crime was planned much earlier, and someone else might have known. Deep dive, 8:30 to 9:30. What kind of person plans this for weeks? The Chris, what we thought we knew, was impulsive, a man who snapped in a moment of anger. But these new revelations paint a different picture. They show a man who calculated every move, who would help, or at least knowledge from others, who covered his tracks better than anyone realized. The question becomes, what else did he plan? What else did he hide? And most importantly, who else was involved? So why lie again? Why cover up more when the case is closed? Some say he wants control. Some say he's testing reactions. Others believe he's haunted, and that guilt is leaking out in fragments. But ask yourself, if he really confessed more than he admitted, what does that say about his mind today? This new information has serious implications. Could there be grounds for reopening parts of the investigation? Could there be other people who should face charges? Legal experts are divided. Some say it's too late. The case is closed. Others say if someone had knowledge and didn't report it, they could face charges. The families of the victims deserve to know the truth. All of it, even the parts that are hard to hear. But here's what really matters. Justice might not be complete. If someone knew what Chris was planning, they failed Shannon and her daughters. They failed to save 3 innocent lives. Now for the detail that changes everything. In one of those unsent letters, Chris wrote something chilling. He wrote, "I told you I would do it, and you said nothing. Your silence made you part of this. We both know what really happened that night." Who was he writing to? The letter was addressed to someone with the initials NK. Sound familiar? But before you jump to conclusions, let me tell you what else we found. Prison investigators dug deeper into Chris's communications. They found he had been making calls to a number not on his approved list. Calls that somehow got through the system. Short calls, always under 2 minutes, always to the same number. When they traced the number, it led to a prepaid phone. A phone that was purchased 3 days before the murders. Purchased in a town 60 miles from the Watts family home. The phone was never used again after August 15, 2018. The day after Chris was arrested. Someone destroyed that phone. Someone who knew exactly what was used for. In March 2025, someone else came forward. A woman who worked at the store where that phone was purchased. She remembered the sale because it was unusual. A man came in, paid cash, and seemed nervous. She remembered him because he kept looking at his regular phone, like he was waiting for a call or message. She said he seemed scared. The security footage from that store was kept for 7 years. When investigators reviewed it, they found something interesting. The man buying the phone looked like Chris Watts. But it wasn't Chris Watts. It was someone else. Someone who looked similar from behind. Someone who was helping him prepare. Those prison phone calls Chris made? They were all to that prepaid phone number. But the phone was supposed to be destroyed. So who was answering? Prison officials set up a trap. They let Chris make another call to that number. This time, they were ready to trace it. The call connected to a different phone entirely. Someone had been forwarding calls from that old number. Someone who wanted to keep talking to Chris. Someone who had been part of this from the beginning. When prison officials played Chris the recording of his own call, he broke down. He admitted everything. The phone calls before the murders. The person who knew his plan. The help he received covering his tracks. He named names. He gave details that only someone who was there would know. Details about moving the bodies. Details about cleaning the house. Details about what to say to police. This person didn't just know about the murders. They helped plan the cover-up. The calls were being answered by someone from Chris's workplace, someone who had access to the oil site where he dumped the bodies, someone who helped him figure out the logistics, someone who provided an alibi for parts of that morning. This person has never been charged. They've never been questioned as anything more than a witness. But according to Chris, they were much more than that. They were a partner in these crimes. They helped plan the disposal of 3 innocent lives. As a parent myself, this was one of the hardest pieces of case I've ever had to research. Please subscribe. It encourages me to keep bringing you more details about this case. We're committed to bringing you the truth, even when it's heartbreaking. As of 2025, this investigation is ongoing. The person Chris named has hired a lawyer. They've refused to speak to investigators. They've moved out of Colorado. But you can't run from the truth forever. Phone records don't lie. Prison recordings don't lie. And Chris Watts, finally, isn't lying anymore. The question now is, will justice be served? Will this person face charges for their role? Or will they escape consequences because too much time has passed? This changes how we understand the Chris Watts case. It wasn't just one man who snapped. It was a planned attack on an innocent family. An attack that involved multiple people. People who are still free today. People who helped cover up the murder of a pregnant woman and 2 little girls. This should anger you. It should make you demand answers. Because Sean and Bella and Celeste deserve better. They deserved people who would protect them. Instead, they got people who helped destroy them. But here's what really keeps me up at night. If Chris had helped with these murders, what else don't we know? Were there other plans? Other potential victims? Other families that could have been targeted? Chris's prison statement suggests this wasn't his first time thinking about violence. He mentions practice runs in his cell recordings. He talks about other times he almost did something. What does that mean? How long was he planning violence? And how many people knew about his thoughts? I need your help with something. This story is still developing. New information comes out every week. If you want to stay updated on this case, you need to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Because when the arrest happens, you'll be the first to know. When the truth finally comes out, you'll be ready. But I want to know what you think. Do you believe Chris is finally telling the truth? Or is this just another manipulation? Another way for him to stay relevant? Another way for him to hurt the families? Let me know in the comments. Tell me if you think this accomplice should face charges. Tell me if you think justice can still be served. Because your voice matters in cases like this. Your attention keeps these stories alive. Your anger demands accountability. Before we end, there's one more thing. One detail I haven't shared yet. In Chris's most recent recording, he says something chilling. He says, "I'm not the only one who should be in here. There are others who did worse things than me. Others who are still out there." What does he mean by worse things? What could be worse than what he did? The answer to that question might change everything we know about this case, and everyone involved in it. The Chris Watts story isn't over. It's evolving. New truths are coming to light. New people are being exposed. New questions are being asked. And somewhere out there, someone is scared. Someone knows their time is running out. Someone knows that Chris Watts isn't going to stay quiet anymore. The question is, who will be arrested next? And what other secrets will come to light? Stay tuned. Stay subscribed. Because this story is just getting started. The truth about that night in August is finally coming out. All of it. Even the parts that will shock you.